Hi, and welcome to Anne's Family Recipe. Today I'm baking popovers. A few years ago, my husband and I were vacationing in Scottsdale, Arizona with my family, and we went to this super swanky restaurant. It was called BLT Steak. And one of their specialties was actually their gruyere popovers, which is kind of like their signature item in their breadbasket before their incredible steak dinners. So my husband absolutely fell in love with them, and I've made popovers I think once or twice since then, but I thought it would be the perfect thing to make for this Thanksgiving season. It's kind of an unexpected way to start a meal instead of a traditional roll. If you've never had a popover, the inside is kind of like a French cruller donut. I don't know if you ever tried one of those, but it's this really light and eggy texture, and then the outside is going to be golden brown and crispy. They are so tasty. So today I'm going to share with you a traditional classic popover batter, and then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of Gruyere cheese over top. So for this recipe, I've combined Martha Stewart and Ina Garten's recipes for a basic popover batter. So we're going to prepare that here in this mixing bowl. Now my mixing bowl is giant. You don't need one this big, but it does have a pour spout, which is nice because then we can pour it into our popover pans. If you don't have a popover pan, you can also bake these just in a traditional muffin tin, and I'm going to show you that today too. Now before we get started on our batter, I do have my oven preheating to 425 degrees, and I move the racks to the lower third of the oven because you don't want the tops of the popovers to be too close to the top of your oven or else they'll burn during the cooking time. And then I place my popover pan on top of a cookie tray onto that rack so that it would preheat along with the oven. It'll be nice and hot when we add the batter. Okay, so let's get started on our batter. First in my mixing bowl, I'll crack 3 eggs and then whisk them until they're nice and frothy. It's really important that your eggs and then your milk, which we're about to add next, are at room temperature because you want the batter to start heating up as soon as it gets into the oven. You don't want it to be cold or else it's not going to create a lot of steam, which is what causes the popovers to pop up. To my frothy eggs, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of whole milk and whisk that together, and then we're adding 1.5 cups of flour and about a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now, if you forget or you don't have the time to bring your eggs and your milk to room temperature, you can heat the milk in the microwave just for a few minutes, and you can fill a glass or a bowl with warm water and place the eggs inside, and that'll bring them up to room temperature a lot faster. I just pulled my popover pan out of the oven, which is preheated to 425 degrees, so it is very hot, and I'm going to spray each cup liberally with baking spray. Then we'll pour in our batter a little bit over halfway full and sprinkle a little bit of that Gruyere cheese on top. And I'm just sprinkling about a tablespoon of this shredded Gruyere cheese right on top. So the popovers are going to bake at 425 for exactly 30 minutes, and you do not want to open your oven door during that baking time. If you want to check on them, you can just turn on your oven light to see that they're rising, but if you open the door, the heat's going to escape and they're not going to rise. They're going to kind of deflate. Now I'm using the Barefoot Contessa or Ina Garten's method, where she sets her oven to 425 and bakes them for 30 minutes. There's also a lot of recipes out there where you start the baking process at 450 degrees for about 15 minutes and then turn the oven down to 350 and finish baking them for another 15 to 20 minutes. Now you could totally try this out too, but I thought the Barefoot Contessa's way was the easiest because you only have to set the timer one time for 30 minutes and then your popovers are ready to go. So once you take these out of the oven, you have to act really fast. So you can see that they're already starting to deflate a little bit on top. So I'm gonna carefully remove these, even though they're piping hot, from, let me use this knife here. We'll remove them from the pan immediately. And then from what I read online, you can cut a little slit into the back of your popover, and it's gonna allow some of that steam to escape. And from what they say online, that will help retain that nice popover shape for a little bit longer. But either way, you wanna serve these as soon as possible because it'll have the prettiest presentation, and they're just best served nice and fluffy and warm. So I underfilled my popover pans by a little bit with the batter because I wanted to have some extra batter to use in a muffin tin. Not everybody owns a popover pan, but most people own a muffin tin. So I wanted to test out that method today. So I preheated my muffin tin just like I did my popover pan. I'm gonna spray it with my canola oil baking spray. I think I have enough batter for about 2, but we'll test it out. My oven's still ready at 425 degrees, and we're gonna bake these this time probably for about 20 to 25 minutes just because they're gonna be a lot smaller in size than a regular popover. So I'm not gonna open the oven, but I'll keep my eye on it just using my oven light, and I'll let you know how it goes. The muffin tin popovers turned out perfectly. Now you can see here that they are a little bit smaller in size than a traditional popover, but they still had that fluffy, eggy interior. They were so delicious. And in fact, we didn't put any cheese on top of these, and I think I prefer that even more. I am really proud because these popovers look super professional. My husband already gave one a taste and he loved it, so now I'm gonna go in for a bite. They're super fluffy. I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear it in my microphone? They're like crackly on the outside, but then on the inside, see how it's kind of like a French cruller donut? It's a little bit eggy in texture and super hot and steamy. Be careful with your fingertips. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's so good. And I took a piece off the top, so it has all that nice Gruyere cheese on top. These aren't too savory that you couldn't serve them with like butter and jelly. That would be an awesome pairing, even though there's also the cheese on top. And of course, the cheese is optional if you just want to make them plain, or you can season them up with some fresh herbs. These are out of this world, very unique. It has that eggy, fluffy texture. Your guests this Thanksgiving are gonna absolutely love these. Super simple to make, but something a little bit different for the dinner table than your typical roll. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at Ann's Family Recipe. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw here today. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with another family recipe.